And it's happening. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Life and Love post-COVID. And I am super thrilled that today I get to hang out with the super cool Andrew Mioch. I am so thrilled to have you here, Andrew. Good morning.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to be here. Second time lucky. Here we are.
The first time I tried to get him on one of my events, didn't go so well. Second time, it's better. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Oh, we got it. So here we are. Andrew is an amazing coach and runs an awesome company. He also just released his new best-selling book, which was number one in like everything: sexuality, male infertility, health in general, something like that. Like, you'll have to tell us all the things, but you just released this awesome book. And I want to hear about it during the interview, and congratulations. It's really cool. Really, really cool. All right. So as we get started, not everybody here knows you yet, but they soon will. And they're gonna be like, now that Andrew's in my life, things are going to change. Andrew, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are, just so we can get to know you?
Sure. Again, Ari, thank you so much for having me here. It's such an honor and just like a blessing to be here to share from the depths of my soul about like a little bit of my journey. So I went on a journey of like, from being basically the reason I'm here, like as Eric said, just really the reason I'm here, like as Eric said. There we are. We're back.
We're back. Sorry. Start with the reason we're here.
Yeah, so the reason we're here is like, this has been like about a decade-long journey into just sexuality. And it started off from being very, very insecure. And basically I was with a woman once. I thought I was a bit of a bad boy. I had about this, I know this won't make sense, but I just want to put it on the table. I had 3 monogamous girlfriends, go figure. And I was having sex with a married woman and her best friend. So I came from very hurt upbringing from my own personal wounding to be able to go, oh my God, that is not the way to be able to do this. So I heard a lot of women along the way and then I ended up selling drugs, and then I ended up getting caught for selling drugs. And then I was having sex with the chick who was second in charge because I'm like, what else am I going to do? Because I didn't go to jail. So then I did community service and did 100 hours. Ended up having, it was wild, and then ended up having sex with the woman who was second in charge. And she told me I was absolutely shit in bed. And it destroyed me. Destroyed me, because I thought I was in a bit. I was quite egotistical and thought I was the man. And then I got absolutely humbled. So then I got humbled and I'm like, well, there's only 2 ways to go about this. And first I'm like, I'm going to get really angry about this and pissed off and go and blame her. Or the second option, I can take full responsibility. And I'm like, I never, ever want to be in this position again. So I just went on a journey. It was a journey. Like, the way that I talk about sexuality, it's practical advice. It's just like really practical advice for the everyday man. And the people that I work with, it's just like, I just want to like demystify all the stuff around sexuality and just like be able to be like an older bro to mainly men I work with, so then they can just feel like there's someone to confide in. So excuse my French, so they don't feel fucked up and broken, and they go, oh, I don't need to maybe do all this extreme stuff in sexuality. I can just be me and just express more about what I do. So I'm kind of like, I can see the gateway drug into sexuality for a lot of men who don't feel comfortable maybe going to a tantra retreat yet, or maybe going to a kink thing or a swingers thing. They go, that's too out there. They just go, dude, I got a bit of premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction. And I've been there myself. Like, I've had multiple times I've been with partners having erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation. I end up contracting herpes along the way, getting women pregnant, going through all this. So it's been a very visceral experience about like, oh my God, all the stuff not to do, cheating, being cheated on. So it's like, it's a lot like, I put myself through all these things, even running my own sex parties, just to be able to do this. Like, I wanted to get to the point where I could allow myself to feel so comfortable in my sexuality, and a woman to feel comfortable in sexuality. I ended up running sexuality parties, not by like just inviting my close friends. I would go on the streets of Melbourne, meet women during the day, say hello, have a conversation, and then of course some women would say no, but I would sometimes get women so comfortable that they go, I want to come to a sex party with you just because like of the vibe you are. So I'm like, wow, it's so profound. How could I be so comfortable in my own sexuality to allow someone else to feel so comfortable in their sexuality? And it's been a wild time, but I don't want to rant on too much, but that's a little bit about my story.
You have such a crazy story. How has
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like the way you were having sex before this big
Yeah.
journey I mean, not before the journey began, but before this big shift began,
Yeah.
versus how sex is now for you. Can you describe the difference?
Oh yeah, it's completely night and day. Like from when I started, so on that story, basically I just go, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. Weird, wacky, wonderful. I'm gonna throw myself into every mentor I can find. I'm not much of a reader, but I just went to everyone like, dude, what can we do? So I met like yeah, so the sex that's different. It's just like it's night and day because I'm like, I used to be so selfish. How can I just like do the thing, get it done as quick as possible? But now it's
Say I
like,
did
but then
it.
I'm like, yeah, I did the thing, but now went the opposite way. The opposite way was just trying to please the woman so much so she'd like me. I'm like, there has to be a middle ground. It's like, it's like, because the book you might hear at the end, it's called Best She Ever Had. And it's like, how can I be the best she's ever had? But to be the best she's ever had, paradoxically, it's being the best I've ever been and the best I've ever had. And then also being discerning of how can I really look after the woman who's in front of me as well. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the big reasons, I mean, I've wanted you to be a guest speaker on my stuff for a while, and here we are. But one of the big reasons I really was thinking about you for this one is because I have spoken with so many people who, COVID did crazy stuff around the world, and it
Mhm.
really fucked with people's emotions and relationships or lack of relationships or whatever. It really messed things up, and the stress also caused a lot of new challenges for how our bodies work, and for many of us. And so it's like, and now with this, COVID is in many areas of the world kind of, wrapping up. And I think whether or not COVID is done, I think there's a lot of momentum and like, hey, we need to move on from this. We're feeling like we can't keep living in this claustrophobic, fear-based environment. How can we move forward? And now it's like, oh, we're starting to reemerge into connection, meaningful connection, intimate connection with other humans. And whether that's
Yeah.
in a partnership or because you're exploring or whatever it may be, there's a lot of like, whoa, maybe something shifted for you. Or maybe you realized in this period that what you've been doing isn't working and it sucks. And you want to like make that transition. And I know you mostly work with men, but I think that most of like what you have to share is so universal of really tuning into yourself. So can you just tell us a little more about how do you begin that? How do you begin that journey that you're taking people on?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think but I really go to the bare minimum because I know you're phenomenal in regards to sexuality yourself. It's like,
Thank you.
it's just like how much you've done. I really get men, like I really allow men the space without saying, I don't say space or whole, I don't use any like
You don't use
words
any
that
woo woo stuff.
I
You go
don't use any
straight in.
woo-woo stuff. I'm
No.
just like, hey, bro. I'm like, hey, bro, what's really going on for you? Like, when was the last time? Like, let's bring it back to basics. I even go to a guy, like, he's like, I've been in a relationship for a long time with my partner. And I'm like, cool, how's the sex? We have a chat about that. But I'm like, when was the last time you held on eye contact and went slow?
Hmm.
When was the last time you told her how much you care about her while you were making love to her? Bro, I can't do that. I can't talk to her. I'm in the bedroom. Like, that just doesn't make sense. Or when was the last time you had a bit of a joke in the bedroom with your partner, like had a bit of a laugh and just like rolled around, had a bit of a wrestle and a bit of a play? Like, when have you done that? Like, no, I haven't done that. Or when was the last time you took your partner out for a beautiful night and said, babe, dress hot, I'm taking you out tonight, and then just like grab her by the hand and just lead her? So a lot of the work I'm teaching is more about men for leadership and taking more of the charge in the way of like, babe, kind of like this. I'll do a cheeky one. It's kind of like this, like, babe, tonight, dress hot and leave your panties and your purse at home. We're going out. Where are we going? Don't ask questions. This is where I'm just taking you. She's like, oh my God, like clear your schedule. We're sleeping in as well. Oh my God, what are we doing? I'm like,
What's
Shut
going
up, I've
on?
got you, babe. And it's just like every time I've told clients that, and they tell their partner, they go, he's taking leadership, he cares about me, and he's making me feel sexy. So it's the culmination of all that. It's like, and what I do to bring it back to bare minimum, bare basics, it's like I really get guys to do this. The first exercise, so this really might be great. It's in my book as well. I get guys to write the word sex just on a whiteboard or a piece of paper, and I allow them to not judge themselves and see what comes up. And it's so
Mm,
surprising what comes up. Just something as simple as that gives them the awareness. And then it's like stories, this, that person. When we do that, we dive into that, which is quite a process. Then we move into this. Let's write their most ideal epic sex day that they want to do. Now they might, I don't have any kinky, weird fantasies. I'm like, bro, it doesn't matter if you just want to hold your partner's hand and walk down the beach. But
yeah.
when they write their story, sometimes they're always trying to do it because trying to please someone else. I'm like, no, do this to please you first, what you really want to do for your ideal sex day. Then you can get your partner to do the same thing. Do it separately. Then when you show the lists to each other, you'll see a huge like, oh, babe, I remember there was this couple, like they both wanted to like go from the back door, let's just say, and they wanted to do it for years, but they never said anything. Then they both wrote it, and then they go, oh my God, you've wanted to do this? So have I. Now we get to really have this experience because, but no one was saying it because they both felt ashamed of like being able to bring that to the table.
Yeah.
So stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I love it. I love it. One of my favorite fun free resources that is out there too. If those of you who don't know, you can just go to Google and search for yes, no, maybe lists, and they're
Mm.
really fun. It's like a quiz. You just take it and they say, would you ever want to, French kiss? And I like to modify them a little bit because I think that we are more complex than like a simple yes or no. I like to also add, do you want to give or receive? Because maybe I like to stick my tongue in somebody's mouth, but I don't like to have somebody else's tongue stuck in my mouth. So giving versus receiving. And are there any like nuances that you'd want to include in this? So like
Mm.
maybe like, oh yeah, I'm just going to keep with the French kissing one. I would totally French kiss you in public, but only if we were on a beach. I don't know. Like, what is your thing? And just allowing it to like be a discussion point and a connection point and like talking about what's not being said and having fun with it, because the fun is where we get creative and we give each other permission and ourselves permission to really lean in and explore. So I love
Yeah.
that this is the first activity you're having people do. Like, let's get to it. Like, what do you want? What are your stories? What are you holding around this idea of sex and what sex is, where it could be, or it should be? It's a lot there.
Yeah. Because you'll be surprised as well. And I think you'll for sure know this. A lot of men, like, because the reason I'm just talking for men, because I work with men, but it can be like whatever gender. It's like a lot of men like won't bring this up because they pretend and they make out like they're meant to just know this stuff. That's the worst part. They're meant to know this stuff and they're meant to be good in bed. So there's a lot of like, I'm meant to be the man. I'm meant to be so good at this. And then it actually puts on a lot of pressure for them to actually perform and do the thing in the bedroom. So I'm like, no, dude, where were you ever taught this? And they go, maybe their uncle showed them a porn video or their friends are trying to share them things. I'm like, you were never taught like any of this stuff. And it's so much more than just sexuality. It's the intimacy, it's the eye contact, it's the connection, it's the foreplay, it's the everything in between. And what happens is like they go, I should be the man in the bedroom and take her. So sometimes they watch too much porn and they do the opposite, like, I want to be the man, do that. Or they're trying to be too gentle and sensuous. But I believe it's a balance. I know you talk a lot about the erotic blueprints, but I'm just like, just for a simplistic thing that I teach guys, it's like the woman will have that gentle, sensuous side at times, and then she'll have that time where she needs to be pinned down and ravished. So it's like depending on what day, like what time of the month, and different times, and the person, and what's going on. And that is like, I go, if you can just play with those two things at the moment and really feel into those and see what you need as well. Where do you feel more comfortable into? A bit more ravishing and wild, or a bit more gentle and slower? I just like try and bring it down to simplistic, then go a bit more erotic blueprint, which is, I know you harp on about, which is so beautiful.
Yeah, no, I love the simple, starting with it being simple. And this goes for everybody, not just for guys, right? It's like
Mm.
everybody has different masculine and feminine sides to them. So how do you allow for both to be there? And women, or anybody who's tuning in, if you are feeling more in your feminine and you are wanting to also play with these different polarities. It's like, well, how can you jump on top of your partner and, take the more masculine route and have fun with that too? It's like, let's get playful. There isn't one way of being, and that's where we get stuck. I mean, I talk so much about pattern versus practice. We're either in a pattern or in a practice. My husband does this a lot too, but it's like, we get so stuck in our patterns of like, this is what sex is, this is what intimacy is, this is what relationships are, right? And it's like, let's get out of that and try a new practice. Let's practice something fun together. Like, what would it be like to take turns? I love that you brought up wrestling. I think wrestling is one of the greatest forms of foreplay out there for many to do.
It's the best. It's one of the most amazing things. I actually put that in my book. It's called the wrestle. Have a wrestle date with your partner. It's so amazing. Like, this is an exercise I just like highly recommend. It's like, I never forget. I think it was an ecstatic dance kind of temple kind of night vibe. And then there was this woman on the dance floor. We just like locked eyes. We looked at each other. And we're like kind of like going around. And then I just launched on her, and then she's launched on me, and we're wrestling on the middle of the dance floor. It's like kind of like we're dry humping each other, holding each other, ripping each other apart. I was like, this was absolutely epic. I'm like, come to my house. At my house, I have all these mats like that we do like BJJ with, and like my friends do like stretching. We have all these mats at our house downstairs. When I was back in Melbourne, I would literally set up wrestle dates with women. They would come over, like, we had just gone to wrestle. Some women I was intimate with, some women I wasn't. We would just wrestle, and like you see, like sometimes like, oh no, she won't go hard. Like usually the women who have like younger brothers or brothers, just in general, like I've got the statistics on this, don't worry. They go they go really hard, and I'm like, it gives them that expression to like, because it can be like intense, like fiery, passionate, then it can be slow and then sensuous, looking into each other's eyes and rolling around, and you're like the music, and then it can turn into, and you're ripping each other's clothes off. And sometimes you can tell them, bring in really cheap t-shirts. I can literally rip it off you. You can rip off my t-shirt. So all this stuff, and you're just getting wild into this moment. And then it's just like this ebbs and flows. Or she can start in her lingerie, and you can start on the other side of the room, and you can start like with your shorts, and you kind of like looking at stalking each other, and just that fun and that play of that. I'm getting turned on now.
I love it. I love it so much. And I just want to put a little note in here for anybody who also has concerns around, oh my gosh, how could I make sure I feel safe in that setting? There are many things you can do. Andrew, do you have one or two tips that you'd recommend for people who are like, wow, you're so much bigger than me, and we're going to wrestle?
That's a great one. Thank you for bringing it back to the safety. So yeah, everything you actually teach, I should give a caveat to that, because some people are like, well, it's really intense what you're saying. I'm like, yeah, everything is done with consent and between two adults who really want to be there. So basically, I say this to the woman beforehand, pre-frame, hey, let's just have fun. Let's take our time. Let's just enjoy. And you know what? If it's getting too intense, there's a few things. You can say like yellow, we're getting a bit close, or just say red and it stops. Or you can give her a certain word that she can say, and you can have a certain word. Or I literally have what BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you just tap out. She taps you a few times. And then and then anytime she taps out or she says red, I'm like, or maybe you got your hand over her mouth.
Or you tap out.
100%. I've tapped out more times. You don't want to know.
Good.
It's been bad. Or I tap out. She's holding me. I'm like, all right, let me out. Or a woman once had her heel on my face and was pushing me. I'm like, all right, I need a tap out. So that was, it's wild. So yes, I have tapped out. It's like, but it's the fun. And then what happens after that happens, I tap out. I'm just like, oh my God. She's like, how are you? I'm like, wow, that was intense, but that was beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm like, that was just getting a little bit too much, but oh my God, let's start again and go a bit slower. Or like, hey, wow, that was hot. So,
so cool.
Really depends.
I love it. And I love that you're helping them establish stuff beforehand for consent and knowing how they can feel safe and how they can express if anything needs to shift right in what's happening between you both. So yeah. Awesome.
Yeah,
amazing.
Do
you have your book nearby?
Yeah, I do actually.
Great. We just grab it because I want to show people, and we've got a couple of minutes, but you already mentioned this is in your book, so I really want people to see this. And we're going to send out links to everything so that you can check it out. It's it is very much written in your style, Andrew. It is direct. It's to like the mainstream man, and it's got some really beautiful medicine and important messages in there. It's just so fun to see like a different approach. Best she ever had.
Yeah,
bestseller.
Yeah, it went really wild. We sold 700 plus copies in 4 days. I was like, Far out. That's wild. That's
So
super
cool.
crazy.
So
But
cool.
yeah.
And it's definitely something that people think and talk about a lot. I think we've got so many people tuning in. I have this feeling that just want to see if anybody has any questions for you. We have time for a couple of questions. If anybody wants to unmute themselves or type in the chat, if you have any questions, go ahead and start thinking about that. You can go for it when you're ready, should you have any. And if not, I can keep talking for days. So no stress. I was like, go ahead.
That was fast and furious. That was just like in and out. Let's go.
I like quickies sometimes too.
Exactly. Sometimes, not all the time. That's the thing,
Not
isn't
all
it?
the time. Not all the time.
I love how guys actually say, like, am I never allowed to have a quickie again? I'm like, of course you are, but it's not your only mode.
Yeah. Just get out of only mode. Any questions people have? Anybody want to unmute? If you do, go for it. Or type in the chat. I'll give you about 30 more seconds. And then I'm taking the reins back.
Well, that was super fun. I never thought we'd go to wrestle day to make that the main topic of conversation, which is super cool.
It's all good. Andrew, is there anything else that you want to share? Because I thought that was so fun especially for, oh, somebody just came online. Jason, did you want to ask something?
Sure, yeah. I wanted to see if you have any tips. I'm a switch, so I'm comfortable both topping and bottoming and sort of running both of those power dynamics. But I have to admit, the area that I could most stand to grow in is kind of finding my balance when we're not in an explicit sort of power play situation. So I was wondering if you have any tips on sort of like finding your balance between leading and following.
Okay, so outside the bedroom more, just one from a...
Actually, no, I'm more thinking in the bedroom.
So as the top or as the bottom, or just depending on the partner?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the partner, because certainly some partners that I've had are comfortable sort of changing roles, and some are really, you can tell they're sort of more used to one role or another. And I think I'm more comfortable sort of leading, but I think that I could use more work on I guess tuning into myself while tuning into my partner.
So it's more of a general, if I'm correct, is it more of a general this question about like how to like communicate better about like what, like how you want to like interact with the person when you're inside the bedroom to have more pleasure, or just like how to have a better dynamic between the both of you when you're in play? Maybe I'm out, Ari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're asking good questions, Ari. Did you have the thought?
I just wanted to reframe the question and see if I've got this, because I think it's awesome. So Jason, what I think I'm hearing you saying is you are a switch. You like both sides, like playing with both power roles. But what happens in the middle when it's not defined, explicit? Like, okay, I'm going to be taking the lead, or I'm going to be following today. How do you just stay present with whatever energy is present in that moment in the bedroom? And it could be you're connecting sexually or you're just cuddling, but how do you stay present with that undefined space of what do I want right now and who am I in this moment? Am I getting that?
I think you're getting what I'm asking, but I think I'm gaining some clarity in what I'm really thinking about, which is I think that I often find that I have partners that just want me to take the lead. And I'm great with that for a while, but then I think I find that sometimes I've subsumed my own desire in my own, well, maybe not my own desire, but I subsume some of myself in the quest to basically lead and please my partner. And so I was wondering if you have tips on sort of like refining myself. And I guess that maybe doesn't necessarily have to do with leading or following either, because that's an aspect of both, right?
I think I might. I'll try, man. I'll try and So when you're with your partner, it's just like you're more comfortable leading, and then like she's more comfortable following. But you're saying if you want to switch the dynamic, and then like how can you like she might want to switch, but you're comfortable leading, or like vice versa. For that, man, like if I'm in that situation and I really not feeling comfortable with switching it, and you just feel like it's going to throw off the dynamic, it's like, you always got your no, dude. That's where I've always like gone to. Like, there's been times when I've had women who have dom me, and I'm just like I was like, I did it to be on the other side. I'm like, I'm not really down for that at all. But I just like politely saying like, hey, that was really nice. I had like an impact play session. She gave me an hour session, which was really beautiful. And but I'm like, it's not my thing. And that was just like, but it was like, you can even try it a little bit. And if you're just feeling off, you can just go, hey, I care about you. You're awesome. But you know what? I just really enjoyed the other dynamic that we're actually creating. And if she goes, well, I actually really want to try more of that. But at the same time, when I'm really working with just like straight heterosexual men, sometimes they feel that they've got to always please their partner and do whatever she wants so then they can make her happy. But I'm like, no, dude, you've got your rights to say no. If a woman wants to peg you, or she wants to do something like grab you by your back, your hair, and you don't really want that, it doesn't feel like it's really nourishing for you. It's just a simple like, hey, that's actually not really what I want to explore. It's not really giving me the most fulfillment like in our dynamic, or maybe sexually. So it's like really tuning into that more. And it's hard because sometimes what you're talking about, it's a very high level like a high level conversation. It's very nuanced. So it's more just like tuning into your body about how you feel in those moments, man, and discerning it a moment by moment as well. And trust your gut, dude. You know, I always do this. I always close my eyes in situations like that. I'm like, do I really enjoy this? Do I actually want to be continuing doing this with this person? But if I don't, I just want to say, hey, you're amazing. Actually, this dynamic, switching it like this, isn't this not working? I really prefer if we did it like that. How is that for you? I'd say something simple like that, brother.
Love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jason. And and thank you, Andrew. Andrew, you and I were totally in sync. I was like, invite the pause, and you're like, I just close my eyes, and I take a deep breath, and like, yes. But I think that if we look at porn, or if we look at what even romantic scenes in movies, things just keep happening because it's really interesting to watch when things just keep going. But in real life, you've got all sorts of things going on in your inner world. And what I encourage people to do is in the bedroom, exactly what Andrew just did, like give yourself permission to pause and tune in. And it doesn't have to keep going full speed at whatever's happening. In fact, it's probably going to be healthier and happier for everyone if you guys give each other permission to pause at any point in time and just say, hey, we just pause and breathe, and just pause and breathe, and both of you check in, like go from being with this other person to being with yourself, and then you can come back to this person. And it's very, the more you start leaning into this and practicing it, the more you realize, oh, something was off because I really just want to touch them this way, or I really just want to be touched this way, or I really want to switch positions, or whatever it is, you get to speak into it because something is up. And when we hold on to that, what I usually find is when you hold on to that, like I have something that needs to shift, but I'm not going to say it because I'm afraid of breaking like what's going on in this movie. Then they start to feel it, but they don't know what's going on. They just know something's off, and it just starts to feel more and more disconnected. Whereas if you take that pause for a moment and you just say what's on your heart, then they're like, oh, that's what I was feeling. Cool. We can give each other permission to just move and make it a dance, which is really fun.
Ari, I've got something on this, if I may. We got time?
Please.
That's so beautiful. This is so nice. This is like some energetic work without saying energetic work to the guys I work with. No, I'm not saying the guys aren't intelligent. The men I work with are very intelligent, but they're very mind intelligent most of the time. So that's the thing, of very type A personalities. So what happens, I'm like, bro, have you ever been in the position, and this is going to help your question as well, Jason. I'm like, have you ever been with a woman, man, and you've been like making love with her, like, or you've been doing doggy style, and then all of a sudden she turns around and goes, where are you? What are you doing? I'm not really, or she goes, I'm not really feeling this. I'm like, something feels off. And have you ever had that? Oh yeah, dude, it's happened. I'm like, why do you think that is? And they go, I don't know, like maybe she didn't really like it. I'm like, dude, where was your mind when you were actually in that position? Oh, dude, I was thinking about another woman maybe. Or maybe I was just like off thinking about something else. I was thinking about work. The reason you're doing that, women will call you out when you're not present and you're there and you're not being really congruent. Or if you really want to be with an ex-girlfriend or you want to be with another lover and you're there, that's what's going to happen. And I've had that numerous times. Guys like, how do you know? It's like she's reading my mind. It's like, because this is where I start going a little bit more hippie, so to speak. I go, this is when both your bodies start moving in a rhythmic dance and your souls start to connect a lot more. And it's not just like two physical things going like this, but it's more like this. And then you can actually feel more in sync with each other. And they go, so if you keep getting women saying stop, or like, I'm not really feeling this, or like, it's not really my vibe, it's because usually you're not really tuned in. You may be like so here trying to perform instead of being present. So
Thank you. I
Yeah.
feel it. I feel it. You get my
Yeah,
sparkle
girl.
fingers. Hey.
Thank you.
Wow, we just packed so much into a half an hour. Wow. Okay. So if anybody else has more questions, we are out of time, but you can post them in the Facebook group, and Andrew will come and check it out later on and answer any questions, and I'll be there too. Feel free to watch the replay if you're like, that was amazing. I need to go back and write down all the notes about the pillow fighting and the consent setup and the pausing and all the things we just talked about, right? Like, feel free to watch it, share, invite other people in so they can view it, whatever feels good. And I'll be sending out all of Andrew's information, but Andrew, how can we find you?
Well, the best place to probably find me is just like, I think you're going to send out the links. If you just want to
I
go
will.
sexual quantum leap on YouTube, I always just really recommend people just really have a good look at what I do. It's pretty, like, you might say it's pretty upfront and like in your face, but that's probably sexual quantum leap, and we have the website. But yeah, have a look around. I have a ton, like hundreds of hours of free stuff. So yeah, I hope that really serves everyone watching this, and enjoy.
So good. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And I look forward to seeing you as the next guest speaker. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you being here.
Bye.